Okay, so this is about feeding your starter. So I just finished taking out some starter to make my bread. It was all active, so I used the amount that I needed, but I still have way more than I want to have before feeding my starter again, so it'll be ready for next time. So I use a regular measuring cup, and I like to put 3/4 of a cup of starter in from this jar that I'm going to use to feed. I like 3/4 cup. You can use less of that, but I like that because sometimes I like to use the discard starter, so what you pour off to do other baking, and it just makes sure that I have enough to, if I want to make a couple of loaves of bread or maybe something else, then I'll have plenty of starter to use. So I'm going to start out by just kind of mixing up my starter here again, and again pouring in enough so it gets up to about the 3/4 mark. And you can see it's very kind of a gummy texture right now. Sometimes if you've let it go past when it was active, it can get a little more watery. But in any event, after you've mixed it up, put in, again, I put in about 3/4 of a cup here. Okay, there. And then, this is what they call, what's left over is discard. So I put that into another jar, and I can use that discard for other baking. But warning, you can accumulate a lot of discard. If you want, eventually you're going to have to throw away some, most likely, unless you're cooking every day. So when I do that, I'll usually put this discard into a plastic bag and then throw it away, rather than, you don't want to clog up your sinks with all of this. So I'll be getting rid of that discard, and I use a 1/2 cup of flour to feed the 3/4 cup, along with the 3/4 cup of my starter. There's a 1/2 cup, and it's just all-purpose flour. It's not gluten-free, that's mislabeled. And it's also King Arthur, so 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour, and then I'm going to use a 1/2 cup of water. And I'm going to just stir it up with a fork. And you want to stir it quite well, scraping off the side. It's going to kind of be the consistency of like a pancake batter. You want to make sure you get the lumps out. You do want to stir it really well. You can use a whisk if you like. I find a fork works too. I like the glass container, the glass measuring cup to mix it up. You can mix it up in your container that you're storing your starter. I tend to be fussy. I don't like to mess up this container, so after I empty this out, I'll wash it, and then I'll pour in this new fed starter. So this is called feeding. I just fed it some more flour and some water. Stirring it up good. There. You can see the consistency now. That's ready. Okay, so you can see I cleaned out my discard starter from my starter jar. My starter jar is all nice and clean. And I have my fed starter here, and my little scraper. I'm just going to put my fed starter back in my starter jar. Pour that back in. And again, it kind of looks like pancake batter at this point. And I'll try to get as much as I can scraped out. Get it in there, not wasting. And so you can see it's about to the 300 mark here. I'm going to put my band there so that I can now see where it rises to. Again, I want it to rise to about 600, about double this, and be nice and bubbly so that I'll know that it's ready again to use for cooking. Oh, now I want to put the cover on here, and I'll let it sit. And usually, as I said, here in Florida, I find it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours to get up to the 600 to double and be ready for cooking.